Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Biteable, the bite-sized podcast for your brain. My name's Sierra, and I wanted to just say sorry to all of my listeners. I had to take a little bit of a break from the podcast for the last little bit. Life was a little bit hectic, and planning for the wedding and work was a bit much, so I had to take care of other things before I could come back to this. But I'm excited to get going again, and hope you guys will come along with me. So, coming back, I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind lately, especially with how stressful life has been and planning for the wedding, which is in October. One thing that has been on my mind, especially since I found my dress, yay, very excited about that. And maybe I'll show some pictures and whatnot later on or in another episode, and we can talk about wedding dresses. But I wanted to talk about weight loss because it's something that has been a pretty big part of my life. I'm 32, and to be honest, for as long as I can remember, I have always been trying to get into shape and be healthier and have had mild degrees of success, to be honest. I wouldn't say that I'm obese by any stretch, but I do have a few pounds on me, a little bit chunky, I guess you could say. And it's taken me a long time to feel comfortable, even kind of saying that. Obviously, a person's weight is something very personal, but I find in today's society that we have like these new movements where people are trying to normalize the idea of being bigger and not being super skinny or super small. And, there's research coming out where it's not as healthy to be like that. It's not sustainable. It's like without professional help to achieve those goals, it's rarely achievable. And it requires such drastic life changes that it's not something that your everyday person can maybe successfully do like commonly. It's out of the norm. And I mean, because, going to get married and trying to fit into this beautiful dress, I've wanted to lose some weight because I've, gained some weight from COVID and just not being outside as much and whatnot. Everybody's in that same situation, to be honest. And, sometimes it's hard to think that I should do it or want to do it. But then I realize that there's other motivating factors. Like, I want to be healthier. I want to be able to be active and able to actually do things. And it's not so much just like looking good in clothes or for pictures or stuff like that. But it's also just being healthier and being able to, eventually when we have kids, run after them and keep up with them. There's nothing worse than having a very excited 5-year-old run circles around you and your knees hurt or something like that. And so it's been more on my mind because of the upcoming wedding. And then, after that, I want to have kids and just, being able to hopefully, fingers crossed, bounce back from that a little bit, because it is very like stressful on your body. It's a lot to put your body through, and being in not great shape now certainly doesn't make it easier when you are so much heavier and you're carrying a baby and your body is going through all of these changes and everything. So I don't know, I don't really have a specific part of it that I want to talk about, just more like my general feelings on it, because on one hand, because it's such a large part of like today's society and growing up as a woman, the idea of being in shape and being a certain size and having a certain body image is such a large part of our society. And even though I can acknowledge that, I am still very much influenced by it. I look at these beautiful models who look great when I'm shopping for clothes, and then I purchase that same thing, put it on my body, and it's just like, that just doesn't look as nice. But at the time, like, I don't really take into consideration the amount of like Photoshop that's gone into that, or the amount of, editing, and sometimes like they're just naturally looking like that, but still, there's quirks of the camera or certain lighting and poses that hide things and whatnot. But looking at that model in that outfit or bikini, you're just like, wow, yeah, I should look like that, but I don't. And so, you don't feel all that great about yourself when, beautiful people are thrown in your face all over the place, whether you're online or you're walking down the street and there's like billboards and signs and stuff like that. It's very much a part of today's society. And it's expected that, young girls and young women look like this. It's kind of the norm because we, as women, we put those expectations on ourselves, and then society does, and then our family does, and later on, our partners may as well. And it's hard to, kind of go against that and be happy with yourself when you don't look like those magazines, you don't look like those billboards. Even not just weight, but like having different skin color, having different hair. It all adds to that idea of self-worth and not feeling enough. And I mean, just on the topic of hair, that's something that I can go on later in another episode, because I have had struggles with that and trying to figure out my hair for years and growing up. But body image and the idea of assigning value to how much you weigh is something that so many people go through. It is very hard to talk about and think about and come to terms with, whether for good or for bad. Like, there can be something said about being happy in your own body, but also when you're very overweight, it's not healthy. So, if you're happy being overweight, but then there's a whole bunch of conditions that are not good for you when you're overweight, like, is that then okay? I mean, I think it was Lizzo recently in the news, and for the past little bit, she was promoting body positivity, but she's so large that the media and people were saying, like, it's not healthy for her to say that it's okay to be that large and promoting it to young girls when she's that overweight. But then at the same time, you want people to feel good about themselves. So it's kind of like a catch-22. You're screwed if you do, you're screwed if you don't. And I mean, the same could be said about being too skinny as well. Being anorexic can be very dangerous. Even though, you may think it looks great, there's a lot of like bad things about being too skinny. So, like, it's either way. You have, like, we struggle through these ideas of body image and our weight being associated with how we should value ourselves. And I think it's very hard to understand and recognize that nowadays, no matter who you are, whether you are a size, 6 or a size 26, there's so many different shapes and sizes and situations that people have that could be good or bad. And I don't know, I just felt like it's a conversation worth having, talking to your friends and family about that, somebody you feel comfortable with. I think that's a conversation worth having, because you never know how somebody feels about themselves, and they could be projecting what they feel onto you, or vice versa. And, whether for good or for bad, I just find it very interesting, I guess you could say, because we all have our own perspectives on it. It's such an interesting and like odd experience to be able to look at yourself and think that, you know, this is how I feel about my own body. Why do I feel that way? And having that self-reflection and being able to like look at yourself and say, okay, well, I don't like how my body looks. I'm too skinny or I'm too fat. Why do I feel that way? Is it healthy for me to be this size? If I do want to change it, how do I go about doing that? And like it's a daily struggle for some people. And I go through periods myself where I don't care and I'm just like, whatever, I look great, fantastic. But then other times I'm just like, oh, like I want to eat better and be more active, but then it doesn't lead me to losing any weight. But sometimes it's not about that number, it's about how like physically fit you are. So muscle weighs more than fat. So you could be really, really muscular, technically have a high weight, but be more fit. And yeah, I don't know, it's a hard topic to talk about and to think about, because it's such a personal thing and everybody kind of faces it in a different way and thinks differently about it. And it's interesting to see how, like, what people value when it comes to their own bodies and other people's bodies, and how we kind of like look at ourselves versus others and what affects that. Sometimes it's seasons, bikini season, and people put emphasis on being in shape then, versus when it's wintertime and you're all covered up head to toe and nobody like is going to see you in hardly any clothing. So like I would like to, but yeah, it was just something that I have been thinking about and thought I would talk to you guys about and get your opinion on. What do you think about the idea of body image and body positivity, whether if you're super skinny or larger? Do you think it's right for people who are very skinny or very large to have a positive body image when it affects their health? Personally, for me, like, I think that's pretty dangerous, just because, there's slews of health problems that go with either end of the spectrum. But then at the end of the day, it's their choice. All I know is it's my body, so I like to be healthier. I wouldn't want to be too large or too skinny, but healthy enough to be able to run around, do things with my friends and family, and at the end of the day, not feel like my body is falling apart. Because I swear, as I get older, more things creak, and I don't like that. I don't care for that. But yeah, thank you for listening to my ramblings. Leave me comments or send me an email with your thoughts about body positivity or images as well. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and check me out on Instagram. That's it. At biteable.to. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.